All right, hello and welcome back to the Alta Chair Campaign. I am your host and GM, Nineveh, and with me are Kathia and Scenarios.
Hello, this is Kathia.
This is Scenarios.
Hooray! So today we are doing a chat episode celebrating our 1-year anniversary. We have been recording this beast for an entire year, and we have some things to talk about there as far as looking back and kind of going over what we've done, how far we've come, and what we're looking forward to doing in the next year. So this will probably be a shorter episode, but that's fine. And we will get started. So I'll start off by saying that when we first started recording, my intention was that we would launch an episode every other week, and that would make 26 episodes over the course of the year. That includes the trailer for the first year. And I had hoped that 20 of those would be actual play episodes, and the other 6 would be other things like this episode, the trailer, some chats. And I figured if we got 20 actual play episodes, we'd be doing well. And if we got more than that, we'd be doing very well. And we actually got 23 actual play episodes.
Hooray!
Yeah, party.
Yeah, so we are really ahead of where I thought we would be. We've done more gaming than I had expected. So that's good. That's a win. I think that's a good thing. Cool. So are you guys mostly comfortable with our recording rate or gameplay rate, campaign play rate?
I mean, yeah, it's been good. So we've had enough, I guess, continuity that I'm always I don't forget between sessions too badly what's going on. Maybe a little bit, but not too badly. And I'm always excited to go at it. You know, I miss the days of getting to a game every single weekend and wish we could do that, but that's just not realistic now. So it's been fun.
And it's more gaming I was getting otherwise because of my physical distance, and at least it's good gaming and not bad gaming.
I aim to provide at least a mediocre time.
I'm having fun. I've taken a character, as you know, that was written literally decades ago now, and has been attempted to play in 2 campaigns that did not succeed, and gotten to bring her back around again. I've been interested in Yolorna and playing around with that cult since I first encountered it in Pavis, even years before that, and then had a character that died, an Orlanthe character that died in the campaign, and came back with a write-up for a Yolorna character, and that campaign fell apart slightly afterwards. So I've really enjoyed developing Kathia. So I've really enjoyed on this podcast how we've had this big extended clan around us with all these people. I'm not sure if anyone listening to it is able to keep track everybody in it. I have to look at the write-up I have on screen in front of me all the time, but I'm enjoying that interaction. We have all these NPCs, and they all seem to have some sort of existence beyond just a name.
Nice. That is one of the things I try to do, is make sure that the people, and really in any campaign that I run, it's like I like to make it feel like they don't just exist when you're talking to them, which I guess is just part of my philosophy of trying to make a world that's in motion, like where things are happening, whether you're there or not, and you're more trying to direct the chaos or like survive it than just kind of like, we can do that dungeon later. It will still be there because we haven't entered it yet. But no, I'm glad you're enjoying that aspect of it. Let's see. We should take a moment here to talk about
dungeon. I also
good.
Sorry about that. You mentioned the dungeon. That's something that's definitely felt like the things we've tackled. It's mattered if we tackled A versus B, even though I realize we tell you in advance, hey, we're going to go after A this next time. But it has felt like the order of adventure has been meaningful. I don't know if it has, but it does feel that way.
I will say
With the wyverns and going after them was a big deal. But then we're still dealing with the aftermath of what we did, who we did it with, and how we went about dealing with it.
Can I say, as a player, I've so much enjoyed the fallout of me going, I am going to save the clan, because really that was a bit of a meta moment, because I rolled the crappy omens for the clan, which had nothing to do with my character, but I'm like, well, she's going out on her own to help save it with her friends. But then we did it, and it's like the blowback from that, and that's been a lot of fun, actually, as a player.
Yes.
Cool. Good. Yeah, no, I will say
I'm not sure yet how Kathia feels about it.
Well, she's got time to think about it. There are things you guys have not done that you could have done that would change things. There are also things you've done that you didn't have to do that changed things. So that's been interesting to see. So since we are playing in a canon timeline, like the big events that happen, the Mabador invasion, the Tusk Riders getting increasingly surly, like those aren't events I made up, but they're just fixed in the timeline that we already know for Aldicher. And so you're kind of living through them. But I don't know, if you decided to break one of those events, you could. Like if you got involved, you can change how it goes, which is interesting to me as well, just to kind of see.
I do appreciate that. I don't like being. I like having a timeline we're playing against and around, but I don't want to be slaves to it. We should be able to break stuff even more.
For sure. I think Nick Brook in his Gloranthan manifesto that I'm actually reading right now says that the king of Sarder timeline is what happens if your PCs don't get involved in things. Like it's not the way it goes.
Right.
It's just the way it goes without your campaign. And we're playing in a different era slightly, but
So scenarios could be Argrath, is what you're saying.
I mean,
Yes.
sure, right? Like, why not?
Okay.
Be an Argrath. Be all the Argraths. Do better. Be all the Arcots. That's still one of my favorite lines from the old write-up for the Hero Wars. It's like Argrath. It's like Arcot came back, all 5 of them, and they're fighting each other. It's just like neat. Something went really
That
wrong
makes
there.
sense.
But that's one of those things that's always caught my attention. It's Glorantha is a weird place. There are elements of it that I've always really loved, just because they're even just like Prax, like the Morakanth existing is just such a great, like, grabbing a just so story of like, well, how come people are people and animals aren't? And it's like, well, if the myth really happened, if the just so story is actually like the ideological myth is true, then maybe the animals could have won one of those rounds, and they did. So I just love stuff like
Yep.
that. And I think that's one of the strengths of Glorantha, is that it takes its mythology very seriously, but it gives it different assumptions, and so you get really weird places sometimes. But I do like that. Yeah. But anyways,
Plus the
Yeah.
Morakanth, they're
no, I
just
think
cool,
we've
but
done
we won't
well.
probably
We've
get to
ran
them.
through a lot more than I expected to. We are you guys, you two? No, probably not. I don't know why you would go to Prax.
I'm sorry about that. I kind of talked over you there.
I guess that's up to you. No, you're good. I guess if you want to go to Prax, you'll have to figure it out.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I
We
got
have our
barley.
nice little. We have
Whoa.
learned to make beer this year.
We were just kind of discussing our recording and some of the stuff with the characters about getting a chance to like spend more time in the setting and have like lots of NPCs and things. I think we should probably take a moment to talk about our overall experience. I know that when we were starting the podcast, we had said we kind of laid out like what the podcast is for, right? And our principal goal with the podcast was to play the game. We were just already playing on voice chat, so it was easy to do. Like our secondary goal was to just have a podcast, because there aren't a lot of RuneQuest podcasts in existence. There's really not that many actual plays out there compared to like D&D or even some other games. Call of Cthulhu. I've probably listened to more Stars That Outnumber actual play podcasts than I have RuneQuest.
Wow.
So,
I mean, fair enough.
but there aren't like a ton of them. So that was part of our goal. So when we think about, some of it was I wanted to learn how to do podcasting, which I think I've
Right.
acquired mediocrity at now. I can, like I can record, I can
25% skill.
I've gotten solid amateur work in, and that's more than I had before. I'm much more comfortable with it. And so, while of course we appreciate anyone who listens, like cultivating a viewership was not really on our list of goals. People who want to listen to us, we want to listen to us. It is good if they do. We are happy that they're listening, but like we haven't really posted on socials. I don't think I've even posted the link to like I'm on 2 different RuneQuest Discords. I think I posted the link to one of them. We just haven't promoted it very heavily. So, but with that said, we have about a dozen subscribers to the podcast. We do get regular listens every week. We're in a bit of a slump right now, but previous to now, we had 2 or 3 listens a day, which is a small number, but it's not nothing. So I think that's kind of cool. So anybody who's listening to us, if you're still listening at the point that this comes out, 3 months in our future, basically, for us, feel free to comment. We have not actually gotten any comments. We also don't do plugs in our podcast, really. We've done it once. We don't really go like, hey, subscribe, hit like, post a comment, share us with your friends. We don't really
Smash
do that
that
stuff.
button.
Smash that button. We don't have social media accounts to we don't recommend people over to our Instagram or our Twitter or Blue Sky or X or whatever people are doing now. Mastodon, I guess.
What are those?
Yeah, so we don't do those things. So I'm not surprised that our engagement is relatively low, but we do have listeners, and I'm glad they're listening. So I just wanted to include a moment there to kind of shout out those guys, and mostly guys apparently from our Discord, or not from but from our Spotify analytics, mostly guys. But go ahead and shout them out. Say thanks for listening. I hope you're getting something that you wanted from it. I hope it's helpful or enjoyable, because that was the goal. So, or one of the goals.
I mean, I didn't have any idea what to expect, so the fact that anybody's listening to us makes me happy.
Agreed. I didn't think it would be a
I figured-
large number, but yeah. Go ahead.
I figured at most we'd get 3 listens between the 3 of us.
Right. So yeah, it's been interesting. Unsurprisingly, our first episode is our most popular episode. That's what you would expect, because everybody starts there, and then some people go
Right.
further, some people don't. Right. But surprisingly, our tied for second place is actually your guys' solo episodes, where it was just Scenarios and then just Kathia. Those are our second most popular episodes by a fair margin. I think a lot of people who don't really listen to the podcast tuned into that. I don't know why, but they did. So that's cool.
So you're saying we need more solo gaming if our goal was to have more
Apparently,
people
but
on
that's kind of, yeah, it's contrary to the goal of gaming together. So we're not going to do it. But yeah, it was popular apparently. I think I don't know why, because their descriptions aren't really different. There's no reason that those would get grabbed, I guess, by people who aren't paying attention to the podcast, but they were. They're actually tied, so they've had the same number of listens. So just interesting, right? I thought that was kind of neat. Like, it was not something I expected to see. I assumed our slopes would be more like every episode after the first would get a little less popular as people maybe got through the first one and then started listening to the second one, said it wasn't for them, and then after they listened to 10 episodes, they drop it because they got enough, right? And I think that's something we'll probably see, and maybe we're seeing it right now. Maybe that's why we're slumped a little bit. Is that we have a fairly established, I think, rhythm of gaming, and so it wouldn't surprise me if some of our viewers were starting to go, I get what they're doing now. I understand it. I've drawn the lessons I can draw from this. And I think that's fair if that's
Yeah.
what's happening. So, and maybe it's just people are getting busy because it's starting the last quarter of the school year,
Yeah. I think we have a lot of reasons.
that could also be an influencing factor. So we'll just see how it shakes out. But I think I like to look at the numbers and try to guess at what's going on, but I don't really worry about them because we're no spoilers, but we are nowhere close to being monetizable in any way, shape, or form. And I never wanted to monetize this podcast anyways, but it's good that we didn't need it for income, because it's never going to be that. And that's the vast majority of podcasts are never profitable. So I'm not surprised by that.
We do not have a Patreon.
We don't have a Patreon. Yeah, we don't have any, or we don't have a coffee or a tip jar, anything. Like we don't try to monetize it at all. So, and we shouldn't. I don't know why we would.
I'm content
frankly.
with what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't think any of us need the money, and I don't think there's even if we full monetize, as far as viewers send us your money, I don't think there's much there. I don't think it's changing anybody's life. So, I just don't see the point in it. And this is a hobby. We do it for fun. 70% of the work would be happening anyways, just because we're running the campaign. So anywho, I'll just say, yeah,
Yep.
thanks viewers. For those of you who are out there, hopefully you're still enjoying it, and I suppose people will find it as they need it, because it will be on the internet forever. We're close enough. Okay, moving back to the actual gaming portion of it, your guys is in our year of life, our characters have lived a faster life pace than us, right? Like, we have played through about 2.5 years, roughly, not quite, but roughly, of their lives. So looking back, I guess it's kind of a then and now thing, right? Like, when we started the game, how do you feel like your characters have changed over time?
You want me to go first? You want to go first this time, Solinorios?
I think Scenarios has changed in a way that I expected, but maybe not fully the way I planned or whatever. Because she started out with to find the mother and had the whole Arnalda Marangor split. And I always kind of figured when I first created her that she'd most likely go the Arnalda route, but maybe not so Lumi and all that.
That was one where I kind of suspected that you weren't sure which one you wanted to do more than the character wasn't sure. So, if that makes sense. So, yeah, like I get you. But
And Marigore is so harsh. Like I
man,
was not sure I was ready to play that.
yeah, Marigore's a lot. She
Pretty
really is.
hardcore.
She asks a lot. She, as a goddess, she sacrificed a lot and gave up a lot to get her terrible power, and she expects her followers to do the same. And you have to get those powers, right? Because you're emulating her, so you have to do the same sort of sacrifice and giving up of things to acquire her power. I think she's interesting. I think she's a lonelier and sadder god than most people think of her. I think she's really interesting, and I was glad we got some time to explore her. But I totally get why, as a player and as a character, you were like, let's just do the other thing, you know?
I think I originally picked her because axes and dinosaurs and earthquakes seem fun, and then it's like, no, this is too much. I think it's maybe even like 10, 15 years ago that I could have done that and been fine with it. But
Question for you. How much of the drive to play, I guess what I would think of as a more traditional Arnalda character, do you think is because of the rules in RuneQuest Glorantha that facilitate that kind of play, the manage household and the manage? I mean, I know we could ad hoc those anyway, so maybe even talk about that. I'm just kind of curious because it's been really fascinating to watch, and I realized I played a character that's kind of a traditional RuneQuest character that doesn't engage in any of that. So it's been a lot of observation from my point of view, and it looks very interesting and engaging.
yeah, I think RuneQuest Glorantha lends itself more to that with the seasonal play. Because the thing is with this version of RuneQuest, you can have your cake and kind of eat it too when it comes to I want to adventure at least once a season, but at the same time, I still want to be a part of the clan. And I don't know if it was just the rules or the scenarios, the scenarios that were a part of the old packs or whatever that didn't promote this kind of play as much. I think remember when we did it with Nade and Skelios, like even the virtue stuff that was kind of ad hoc or adopted from another system, like with the virtues and everything. But the clan or social or political play didn't have as much grounding. And I won't call it social combat like Exalted used to use. But I think it is kind of having a system saying, here's how you interact with the harvest or your Carls and Cotters and all that. So
I'll just note my observation on it because I feel like RuneQuest has always been a game where you've tended to have an adventure per season and maybe 3 or 4 per year, or at least more of that than you'd see in other games. So I feel like that's always been there. But anything with how much income do you get from raising these crops, and how do you determine that beyond just kind of rolling a random D100 and hand waving it, which was perfectly fun, but that was it. And I don't know, just looking at it now, it's like you have an entire mechanical system to engage with to do it. So I don't know. Like I said, it's been really fun to watch. So from my perspective, and I'm not really too involved with that. Basically, sit back and go, yeah, you go do that. I'm just kind of going guard around the Tula.
it's also the nice thing because then I take, especially like Arnalda, taking rune magic that will then affect it. So right now I've got the herds. I'm going to move over hopefully to having crops, but I have spells that they don't do damage. They don't give armor, or protection, or magic, or whatever, or insight, insanity from a loon, fanaticism. But they do help the harvest, which I guess is the bigger deal. And also having a sacred time mechanic helps sacred time actually become more real in the game, I think. Because you need a little bit of crunchiness, at least for me, in a game to kind of latch on to, okay, this means something besides Nineveh just wrote it that way, which I think adds to the weight of it. That's why the Wyvern hunt before means a lot, because then there's an impact on the clan, which we did to alleviate those penalties.
No, I agree with that. I think I was while I was formulating my thoughts a little bit, is I think Between Adventures chapter of the RuneQuest Glorantha core book is the most important thing that this edition of Glorantha added to the rules. I can honestly, most of it is largely a rehash of RuneQuest 2. I can take or leave some of the expanded magic rules for shamanism and sorcery. I think making RuneQuest points, like the rune points, easy to get is a big deal, like getting them back quickly. And I think Between Adventures is a huge deal for how you structure your campaigns, because it gives you, like you said, I didn't decide, oh, you're going to have a famine, right? Like you're going to have hard times with your food. That just happened. Like, and so it does feel less like fiat because there is no fiat, but it also introduces some unpredictability to your year-to-year planning, because there are dice rolls that tell you how those things are going to go next year. It's not just the GM will ignore it unless he thinks it's fun or important or to shake things up. And so you're always, to some degree, your characters have to think about those things, and that forces play to go that way. And having the seasonal mechanics for occupation checks makes you think about what your role in society actually is, right? Whereas the older RuneQuest, a lot of times, I don't know that I ever felt like my characters had jobs, like like, or a role, like they were. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I've had tons of fun playing RuneQuest 2 and 3, and I'm even running some RuneQuest 6, which is no longer RuneQuest 6, it's Spinthorus now. But yeah, I don't know. I would struggle to say like what Skelios's job was, or even what Gerald's job was. So that's something, that's something I think is valuable. Okay, so I think that's my piece there. Ducks. Between Adventures, important part of the game. If you're running RuneQuest, use it. It helps structure the feel of the game. It helps structure how adventures work. It helps structure how characters relate to their society, and it helps make time feel like it's actually passing, which I think is really important. Like having a grounded sense of time going on, I think is a big deal. And I think the Between Adventures really helps you think like, we just went through a year. Like my character is a year older. I've been through stuff. So I do appreciate that about it. That was mostly scenarios. Thea, if you want to go, how has your character changed?
Yeah, I would say that in a lot of ways, I had such a strong take on Kathia before we started playing. Because as I mentioned earlier, she's somebody that's been a character that's been created since, I think the 1990s, early 2000s at the newest. So I had a pretty strong feeling about her already, about how I wanted to take her and develop her. But tying back into the clan, her ties to the clan have made this a lot more interesting. We haven't talked about as much lately, but she hasn't lost interest. She has the older brother and the sister-in-law who's married into the clan, and then the niece and nephew that she's been angling towards trying to get them involved. It's something I did not think about, and it just came purely out of the random generation of her family that it popped out that she has this brother, this situation, and these two niece and nephew. And it's just been fun. It's like it's not something I never would have thought about, but it's there, and we just seized on it and went with it. And like I said, we haven't talked as much about it during our actual gameplay, but I think we're all aware that that's still super important to her. And the idea of trying to like remove herself from the clan, not remove herself from the clan, but since she's given up her birthright in the clan essentially as a woman by going to Yalorna, opening that up. It's one of those things I just never thought about ahead of time. It just comes through gameplay, and you kind of embrace that moment and go, "Ooh, hey, that thing's going." Another thing with Kathia that's been very interesting is as I've gotten to know her, I've been interested that while she is a warrior and a member of a cult that with access to death, killing other humans has really weighed on her. I don't know if anybody that's listening or if maybe there are other players even have seen the extent to which yet. She doesn't like that. She wants to be a warrior. She wants to be in charge of things. She could kind of understand that. She has no problem killing the ogres we fought or the wyverns or, if we'd gotten into it with the trolls, but luckily we didn't. But she as a whole, while she wants to be a warrior, she's not really out for blood anywhere.
Mhm.
And I don't know how I pictured her before, but I think again that's because she's linked so heavily into the clan, and it's part of that, the whole background of that these are people, and don't really just want to kill people. It's like sometimes we have to fight them and we want to win our position, but I really don't want to have it weigh on me later that I killed somebody. It's been a kind of interesting thing in a role playing game to go. I feel like this character has enough depth of personality that she's not out just killing things and not thinking about it the next day. She kills somebody, and a year later in the game, it still weighs on her.
Yeah, no, I
That
think that's
a
important. I
heavy
think
death rune is going to drive her into places she doesn't really want to go, but I think it's going to probably push her that way. And I kind of like that. I like having characters that are being pushed. And I'll do that intentionally sometimes, but this one felt like it's kind of evolved as we've
right.
gone, and I didn't necessarily expect.
No, that's cool. I will say I think some of that is that like I intended, even though the clan war between the two clans was extremely tame by like overall warfare standards. I think part of my goal for the clan war, which was like I was saying, a very tame war. It was like 2 days of fighting, mostly skirmishes, fairly low body count, more like a big raid. Like it was kind of the thing that like these are people just like you. They are your neighbors. They speak your language. They wear the same sorts of clothing you do. They like look like you. They have the same tribal tattoos as you. And I'm glad that had some impact on your characters, and especially on Kathia because she was out there, murdering people, killing people, killing people. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm glad that that's the case. I know that it's one of the things I like about reading the Iliad is that like people do just kind of die in the Iliad and you don't talk about it, but like most characters, like most people, if they get a name, like their deaths are described, and you really do feel like they're real people. And there's one sequence where this guy gets like just murdered on the field, and the whole run up to it is like, here is this guy, this is his name, he's from this place, they're famous for this, he left his wife and came here, and now he's gotten stabbed and is dying in the dirt. And it's a whole sequence to just explain who he was, and the only reason you even know who he was is because he died. And it's just I like that sort of grounding in those sorts of sources where you really do get the impression that yeah, these are real people who really died, even though the Iliad is pretty fantastical. So I do try sometimes to pull a little bit from that. So I'm glad it's working in places at least.
It is. It is. She's a character I felt like I'm getting to know as we play, which is fun.
Right. That's one of my favorite things about playing characters
And I'm
is
not
getting that to that point where they're telling you what they want to do, and you're really actually kind of inhabiting their mind space or their head space or whatever. I think that's kind of the hope and dream for most RPGs.
Yep, I agree. It's been interesting because as a Yolorna, you're like unicorn, and I mean I want to do that. It's definitely there, but I'm also not feeling the rush because I'm starting to think more about it now. But for a while there, it's like she's just not ready. She wouldn't be that far along the path. She should be down the road a year or two. It still probably should be down the road a year or two, but I'm starting to now think about it for the first time, and it's been kind of nice that it's like there's a lot of evolution of character there that beyond those big steps of I want this cool power because that's what this cult gives. And I think that's kind of the drive for this cult. It's like unicorn, which of course, yay, we want that, but it seems like there's a lot in between. It's been fun to explore that.
Yeah, I've been pleased by how much the cult has to offer mythically, like in terms of like framing your character and giving you things to do and stories to learn from, and it's a pretty small cult. It's not a really big, powerful cult. Yolorna is a fairly little god in the grand scheme of things. No offense, but she's not, Yelm,
No, it's true.
right? And she's not even
I knew that
really
going in.
Gamelia. So she's like pretty small. Her mythic role is important, but not super super big. And it's been fun to watch, and I do like it because like obviously with Cenarios, Arnalda has a lot to offer. She has a lot of stories, she has a lot of myths, she's very important. She's a big goddess with a lot of powers to offer, and it's been interesting. That's one thing I've enjoyed about watching you guys interact with the setting, is where it's like, and I've commented on it before, but it's like when Cenarios wants to do something, it's like, oh yeah, here's all the information you need. You already know it because you're part of this giant cult that is interwoven into everybody's lives, and those resources are available. Just go do it, right? It might not be easy to do, or it might take time and effort, but you usually know what to do and how to do it. Whereas Lorna's cult is much more like, okay, so we're going to use divinations, and then we're going to think about it real hard, and then we're going to spend a few days singing songs and reciting myths, and then we're going to try to piece something out of that is useful. Like, it's definitely more mysterious in that sense. It's more of a mystery cult, but it's been fun because it's like you both have that support, but it looks very different. I think it makes your characters feel a little different too.
The whole getting established my own shrine seemed like maybe it's a bit out there, but then in the end, it felt like, yeah, that was appropriate, and it was really fun. It was neat. It was something you don't get to do every day.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because like contrast it with like Sonarios establishing her own shrine, where it was just like I built it. Where she's like, there's lots of support for this for the grain goddesses, and our culture knows how to do this, and I already have land, and we already plant things, so she just has to like build the shrine, and it's done. It's relatively easy, but like Kathia observed, like making it be harder does make it have more of a social impact, where it's like if you go do that thing, it resonates more. Like it's harder to do, but it gives you a little more clout than it gives Sonarios like inside your cult, which is kind of interesting to me.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of things. I think there's a lot of things with Kathia that her cult is so central and it's not woven into the fabric of society, so it is very much more cult oriented everything. Whereas with Solinarios, it's the cult and the clan and the social fabric and so underlying social structure are all so interwoven that there frequently is no distinction between them. They're just all affected by it. So at times I think it can be easy to gloss over, well, this is really a clan thing and not a cult thing, but it's both because they're just so interwoven, which is how I like that part of Gloriantha. Like being able to play inside of it when you want to and play outside of it.
Right. And Sonarios, feel free to chime in. We were kind of talking about you, but you can talk about yourself.
But we're talking nicely about you in front of your face.
I appreciate it. Much to add outside of the arch nemesis to my story being interwoven in all three parts of my character between family, clan, and cult.
Mom.
Yep. Feels like the Aldature version of Encanto.
I love all those
I haven't
interactions.
seen that yet.
I'll shut up now and let you talk about it.
Oh, never mind. Spoiler.
No, you're good. Don't worry about it. You're not spoiling me. I just want you to know I'm not drawing from that source. But if it is doing something that you like, then I'm glad, because I know that your character, like I've said it before, but every time your mother and your character interact, you can like feel the tension rising, like palpably. But I think that you enjoy it. So
no, yeah, it is a good time. It's fun, and it's one of those things that like take getting ready for the Harvest Queen, for example. She's both the biggest supporter and biggest critic of Sonarios, outside of whatever complex that Sonarios has because of her. But this is one of those fun things because it's both. It's not necessarily high risk because it's family. And family is highlighted well in this game, especially with the way both of us chose to do it. And I like how we contrast the kinds of support family can be between Kathia and Sonarios and their families. Because I enjoy the scenes with Sonarios and her mom, because that's probably scarier than facing a gaggle of ogres or whatever. While at the same time being very supportive and helpful in Sonarios' goals for herself.
So long as your goals align with hers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that can be a little rough. So, but enough of this squishy. Our characters have grown as people. Look at them, how they've changed, and how we roleplay them has changed. How do you feel about your mechanical growth?
I mean, for me, it's been pretty straightforward. Though it's been a lot. I've had a very humorous time with the fact that my ride horse and composite bow shot up, not unexpectedly, but they really. I made a lot of skill rolls for how high those were. Meanwhile, I couldn't move my one-handed spear up to save my life, and I just thought it's just one of those hilarious things with the dice rolls, and it's just part of the fun. I mean, it's not. It's just sort of humorous watching it go there. A couple other things more seriously about it is, I think you're aware, I've commented in private before, I was a little disappointed when RuneQuest Gloriantha came out and they had upped the skill list instead of reduced the skill list over time. I'm one of those people that as we moved on, I'd like to see the mechanics simplified. But having said that, I really enjoyed the split, and I think one of the things that's nice is the fact that multiple skills cover a specific thing that can happen, and that's fine. I think that's been fun. I found it interesting how difficult it's been to increase spirit magic. It seems like in ye olden days of yore, we would pretty much fill up with spirit magic pretty quickly, and I'm still not close, I don't think. And then I've thought that I would agree with everything else. The rune magic has been wonderful. It's been a lot of fun to be able to have access to that, and as uh, Lorna cultist who really wants to be able to throw away. Let me rephrase that. Throw around the specialized spells we get and enjoy them, but also the fact that I can also throw them into common divine magic's been really nice. So I don't know if that's what you really asked, but I feel like the growth has been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of cool stuff we've gotten too. So I think I've gotten 2 magic items in this game, and it feels like a lot in a RuneQuest game.
Yeah, it kind of does. It feels like more because I was thinking about that. Like I have like 3 magic items in our D&D game, and I'm like, I wish I had more.
Yeah.
So
Well,
just
in
different
this one, there's so
expectations.
many cool things we have around. Yeah, like the wyvern claw. And again, this is back to kind of role playing, but it just, I don't know, it feels. I guess I have this star stone. So all those things feel because they're built, how you earn them and how they're built into things. They really mean a lot. So you're kind of super aware that you have them.
Makes sense.
Let's see what else.
So scenario.
You asked, I'll shut up in a second. Let me add one more thing.
Sure.
I love the fact that we have the passions, and I got my hate going for this guy just because I managed to fumble a roll once, and it's hilarious. And I don't know if that's ever going to end up completely blowing up in my face or just going to be a background thing the whole time, which is either way is fine. All right, go ahead, Sonarius. Sorry.
I never would have thought that my best skill would have been manage household going into a role-playing game, but it is my highest base skill, followed by shield and then axe. And then after that, I think orate and then either dance or worship my goddess. And then brewing is climbing up there.
It's getting there.
And then
That one you did start from
the rune
scratch.
points I really like. Yeah, the rune points are fun. I look at my list of bless crops, bless animals, blast earth, and earth shield. And normal me would not expect that kind of breadth of stuff, but not having to buy every individual worship, sanctify, ward, heal wounds, spirit block, or whatever is very handy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I
with
really
that.
like
having to be like, I need 3 heal wounds because otherwise I might die. So those are where my first 3 rune points are going. Like, is nice.
Then the actual runes and the passions are very handy, just because how they add or subtract from skills or affect us depending on which skills they are. And I like how they are either skill or weapon focused as opposed to just use it for whatever when it comes to the runes especially.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the way that the runes kind of tell you what you can use them to augment because that kind of pushes you towards the stuff that the cult cares about, which is neat. And I do like the passions a lot too. I think they're pretty cool. But overall, decent amount of. I think you're both. I guess one way to look at it would be to say, like I said, we've played about 2.5 years. Do you feel like your characters have grown about the right amount, or too much, or too little?
I feel like I've grown. I mean, my character's grown a lot. She's as far as skills and stuff, I don't know if I've been lucky or what, but it seems like I look at the list of skills and think, wow, she's gotten a lot up there pretty quickly. It does seem like getting all those seasonal checks naturally is going to boost your skills along. I don't know what you think, Sonorius.
It does, but at least given kind of, if we're going to spend 5 of the 6 weeks around the stead or the clan or whatever, it makes sense that we'd have skills increase that we wouldn't otherwise. Because when we ride out and help the elves fight something or hunt wyverns, we're not going to be charming, hopefully not charming or intriguing much. But I'm also biased since that helped me get a lot of checks in my managed household. So
to be clear, I'm not complaining about that at all. It just means the skills are going to go up, I think, faster than we probably used to have them go up.
Sort of.
And I think it might help. It might help prevent what we have joked about as the check hunting.
Yeah. I didn't feel like I've ever had too much problem with that. I always hear that as a theoretical RuneQuest problem, but I don't really remember running into it too much.
Yeah, you don't see too much. I think the big thing that's different is that training is going to play less of a role in your advancement because training has gotten dialed way back. Because I
Yeah,
remember when
that's
we were
fair.
playing in our Pavis campaign online like years ago, the play by post. Like my character, if he wasn't in an adventure, he was training. Like that's where all of his spare
Okay.
money went for like 3 years. Was he would just train. And it wasn't like so many hours and you could only
Yep.
do so much every season, but you could train a lot. And I feel like your occupational roles have replaced that. And training is more of a bonus that your character might engage in to get something that's not usually on their skill list or if they're really focusing on something. And also I think what I like about it is that when you look at again the between adventure section, there is a tension, right? Where if you go on more adventures, you don't get the occupational checks. So it kind of does lend some mechanical heft to the idea that maybe your character should be spending some time at home, like doing their
Yeah,
normal lives.
that's a
And
good
that's
point.
I think a good thing that kind of pushes you to be like, well, let's do a couple like one big adventure, a couple small ones, and then we want to spend some time living our lives so that we get these skill checks because they are like Scenarios pointed out. Managed household does not come up in adventures, but it's still a useful skill that you want if you want to like make money. I think that it navigates that well and kind of pushes your characters to spend pushes the players to spend a little more time like thinking about how their character lives their life and gives you more opportunities to just kind of be hanging out on the
Yep.
Tula and having like little conversations with people, which has been fun to see too. So,
I
but
suspect part of that difference you see too is you spent all that time training before because we didn't really have any mechanics for worrying about the day to day. So those characters were basically just, yeah, when I'm home, of course I have enough money sitting around. I just live off of it and train.
right,
Now it's like
yes,
we have to figure out ways to survive.
yeah, for sure. Like, and yeah, I think so. That's an accurate assessment. But it was like I felt like my skills went up pretty fast in that game. I think probably similarly to how your guys' skills are going up, maybe a little faster. I was training a lot of skills I
Okay.
wasn't good at, which goes quickly. But would you say that given it's been, do you feel like you're any reason like you have goals, like rune type goals, right? Like you both want to be rune levels at some point, a rune lady for Kathia and a God Talker, then Priestess for Scenarios. Do you guys feel like you're making reasonable progress towards those things in the time that you've had?
Yeah, the power and the earth rune are the only things really mechanically in the way.
How high does your Earth have to get up to 90?
Mhm.
Yep, I'm at
Yeah.
86 or so.
What do you have to have like 5 or 6 skills at 50% or something too?
And I've got that at 50.
And then like so many points of rune points.
5. I got that.
Cool. I actually feel like Kathia's making good progress towards
Yeah, you're
it,
pretty
but
well on it.
I'm a lot further out. I've got 2 skills above 90% with bonus, but the rest of them are ways away. They're moving that direction. But it'll take some time. And then I got to boost
It's
my
harder
charisma. And I
in
probably
a lot of ways.
the charisma or the rune lord. Yeah. I feel like rune lord has always been more difficult to
Rune
get
Lord.
than
Rune
priest as
Lord's
far as the
harder in a lot
mechanic.
of ways to get to.
Yeah, it's always been that way. Because getting those 90% skills is really tough. But that's okay. That's what I signed up for. So
Yeah.
I'm
But I
making good
think the limiting
progress.
factor on the flip of that is that qualifying to be a rune priest is easier. But if you're a rune lord, generally your cult if you qualify, your cult will just make you a rune lord. Whereas priests need to have an opening, and that can be harder to
Yeah.
get. And also harder to engineer. Unless you're fairly devious and maybe a little murdery.
It seems like it has to be pretty. There's a lot of politicking that could go on there. Rune lords could be too, but it seems like it's maybe unique
Mhm.
enough that it's like if you've gotten there, they can't really deny you.
Yeah, and most of the write-ups they don't like Rune Lord doesn't usually have a line about how if there's an opening available, and the priests almost always do. So it's kind of a differentiator. But yeah, my assessment is I think you're both pretty well on the roads. Like I think you're made adequate progress mechanically. I feel like your characters are a lot more competent. You started off pretty good. but I feel like you've definitely developed competencies and fleshed out some secondary skills that you were not very good at, are now competent in. And you've both gained quite a few rune points and are both pretty well on the way, I think.
I agree. Absolutely.
And yeah, I have notes. I've been tracking both of your sets against the rune levels that you want to do, just so I know when you're getting close and can kind of prep a little. Okay, moving on to group stats. This is our continuation of our last review. You have continued to take Elendor Blue on basically everything. They have remained your favorite NPC, I guess.
We don't talk a lot about this, but I've always kind of thought they're kind of best buddies with, but that might be wrong. It's kind of Thea's maybe closest friend, but maybe thought because it's another warrior, but could also be Solinarios. I don't know. But yeah. Who after Elendor though? I'm curious about that.
Mardina. Yeah.
I think Corm's going to be there all the time now.
Yeah, he's surprised me by how quickly you have both sort of been like,
as he should be. He's awesome.
Don't you have another brother that now's just come of age?
Yep.
Man, you got a lot of brothers to get rid of. I mean, how do you pronounce his name?
Yeah, we need to start
Odris?
them out.
We'll find out.
Right. So yeah, those Elendor and Mardina have been your most popular.
My poor oldest brother, I was gonna say Durdast was one I thought we might have around a bit here and there, since I assumed he's more competent than, at least when we started, than us, but I don't remember using him that much. It seemed too weird. He was too old.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened.
4-star, we married off out of the clan.
Durdast is older, and I think you have kind of just been leaving him behind a lot, which he's fine with. He's more of a homebody anyways, and I think in some ways he acts as like a trusted person you can leave behind. Like, so you're not stripping like all of the younger Thanes away. Okay, so as far as other stats go, I feel like Chorustor is climbing the rankings on our dating profile site. Sonarios, what do you think? I mean, Harver obviously is our OG boyfriend material guy. What do you think? How are you evaluating them, I guess?
Not bad. He's so calculating, it just makes me curious. And so Harver, maybe not Scenarios, but maybe myself, has kind of cooled on him unintentionally.
Mm-hmm.
But that could change. Because again, you look at it and he's the guy with the MBA and the solid future and the good connections. You compare that with Chorustor, who is a good guy, and it's probably more spiritually or theologically or mythologically correct or easier, and has just always been good and supportive, which is handy. Though he's not as dumb and brash as I'd expect for an Orlanthe, but I'm not against that.
Yeah, he's got some things going on. Don't worry. So yeah, it's interesting. You have some more potential suitors, I suppose, to be concerned about. The Earth Harvest Queen Festival will definitely stir that pot quite a bit. I think you're probably ready to start moving some of that stuff forward, and
yes,
I'm ready to as well. We've passed some of the milestones for the characters to get them moving a little further down that road.
Well, and on top of those, yes, Renard also had to kind of get herself landed, because I see for her, even though she enjoys and will want to stay with for a while in game, like the adventuring martial side, whatever, of being an Nolden, which I know frustrates her mom. And it's not so much the marriage, but the motherhood of Scenarios that is intriguing, and I think is maybe a part of her calling that she's seeing of why she went Ronaldo over Marangor. So,
right, no, that makes sense to me. Cool. No, that sounds good. So, kind of segueing from there, because we're sort of already doing it, let's talk a little bit about going forward. We'll talk about some character goals and then some episode goals for the next year as well. So let's start with character goals. We've played a year. We've gone through about 2.5 years of in character. What are you hoping to accomplish in this next year for us? Well, with your character. So this next year of recording.
Well, I'm in the next year, I'm hoping Kathia will get a chance to actually both of us. I'd like to let me back that up. Beep, 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 beep. I'd like to see more development inside the clan. I'm anxious to see that, even though I realize that Kathia is mostly an observer and becoming more of it, because I think it's really cool. I think it's really fun to watch that. And she'll be part of it. And part of her development, I'm hoping, like, I'm looking forward to doing this Harvest Queen festival, even though, once again, she'll be an observer and she'll probably be there mostly going around checking out these guys, making sure that they're not bad news and dangerous, and looking out for her cousin. I think she's probably going to become a little overprotective over her cousin and maybe even annoy her at some point with it, just like she does everybody else. She has strong aunt vibe about her. No interest in any of that for herself, but she's going to be overprotecting as can be. As a character, I am curious to see how things play out long term with our. And I've got a couple things going on with the clan next door, and I'd like to see how they develop. I think they're all going to be major pain for her that she wants to move on and not revisit. It's going to be forced back on her. I'd like to go down and play around a bit with the undead. They have me interested, and we've talked about them several times. Maybe lead an expedition. We've talked before how she needs to at some point lead an expedition of some sort, military type deal, and I'd love to see that evolve. I'd like to see her get a chance to do that unicorn quest, if I'm thinking maybe a couple years game wise down the road, but it might be that very next summer, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to pursue that. I think it'd be fun. She's already gotten to do a lot, so I'm looking forward to seeing the elf thing play out, and I'm kind of honestly a little anxious of whether we're going to survive it or not. But it's been fun, so I don't know. I'm feeling kind of pessimistic about that playing out. One of the other things I'm looking forward to is kind of watching. We're still sitting in this nice middle ground of not committed to being anti-lunar, but we're also not pro-lunar. But we worked with them quite a bit. We're kind of sitting in a weird middle ground of that I'm not used to.
Right.
And I don't know how much, if anything, is going to come of it, but something, maybe. I don't know. That's
Yeah,
all I got.
we'll have to see. Cool. So scenarios, same question.
I think it'd be interesting giving Kathia the chance to have overprotective aunt vibes over a child or children that scenario spares. Figure out who the father is for a year at least.
Right.
And I know we did the Harvest Queen back with the prior game with Nate and Skelios, but it didn't have the same implications, it felt like.
We are on the other side of it.
So it was on the other side of it, in a matriarchal clan, but as well as... But the other thing we're looking at is this is kind of a minor-ish hero quest that can affect the clan as well. So yeah, there's the personal individual aspect, but there's also the clan aspect. Before we just saw it as see if we can win the girl and win some bets on it. But then, yeah, shooting for the God Talker, kind of getting into the Plura Barley thing has been fun. As a way to kind of weasel out of it, since my mom screwed me over by becoming the chief priestess. So that messes with the politics of it. And also getting at least 2 more hides. Like that's another goal. So that way I can be more solvent.
Yeah, she has
financially.
More land. Okay, makes sense. Cool.
And I'm more optimistic about the
as far as
elves.
Good.
So I'm more optimistic about the elves.
Probably because I haven't repeated to you as many times as I have to get that the fights get more difficult every year. So things scale. So I'll keep hammering in that doom hammer until I have you both properly paranoid. But yeah, no, that's cool. So children, God Talker status, more land, unicorn, Mandarin, Clan Dev, Woods of the Dead. Both of you seem interested in the elf quest stuff. So it's good. Cool.
Patrols.
Okay. No, I mean, it sounds like you guys definitely have some goals going forward. And I know that we check in regularly, like after every session or two, to sort of figure out what you guys want to do next and what you're going for. So I feel like I have a pretty good handle on what your characters want to do, but it is interesting to get a good overview of what you are hoping for the next couple of years to kind of look like. So that's cool. All right. I think with that, I mean, we'll look at our podcast goals, which are not as exciting. Podcast wise, again, we're pretty firmly set on trying to get this every other week output going, like continue doing that. So another 26 episodes over the next year. Again, I am hoping that my floor is 20. I want there to be at least 20 actual play episodes. I don't think we'll have any problems hitting those goals. Hopefully, it's almost all like 23 or 24 actual play episodes. But 20 would be my minimum acceptable. I think. Yeah, I would be disappointed if we played less. Otherwise, I have expanded the podcast a little bit. Like we are on Pocket Cast as well as on Spotify. By the time this episode comes out, I will have us on Apple, and I should have our YouTube up and running, which the YouTube will just be podcast episodes, but on YouTube. So no video or anything. Same product. I have investigated getting us some intro and outro music. That part's probably not going to happen. There's a lot of things that you have to do to get music. I've hunted around a little bit, but that sort of thing is not my. I don't even know what music would sound appropriate for this. So, but we will see. Something I'll keep an eye on. I know it's something I'll keep an eye on. There are some free services that you can use that are royalty free. That have some limitations and guidelines that are not that hard to meet. There are some paid services. I have less interest in paid services because this is a hobby podcast. And I don't want to dump a lot of money into it on a routine, like recurring fee basis. So, but I'll keep looking on it. I don't know that will happen for the 1 year anniversary. Locking down our intro outros as far as music goes might be a year 2 goal. Hopefully I'm going to work on standardizing an outro that does do like plugs. So we'll have some sort of after outro, probably something that I record where it's like, you can get us here. Remember to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on Apple or wherever you get your podcast, something like that. So the podcast will feel a little more formal, I guess, and a little more podcasty. So
leave a 5-star review at Geo's the next time you stop by.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah,
keep it in character.
There you go. Like, let them know. But yeah, so we'll probably get a little more professional feeling and be a little more widely accessible. I will try to link these things a little more regularly in places where I know RuneQuest people are, maybe quarterly or something. I don't want to spend a lot of time managing our brand. Basically, I don't want to do that. So it probably won't be like regularly, but I'll try to be a little more regular about it. Those are my personal goals. I think you guys are pretty hands off on the podcast side of things, which is fine. I wanted to run the podcast, but that's why I'm doing most of the talking about podcast goals, because I'm managing all the behind the scenes stuff. And then further out, this is not intended to be the only podcast we ever do, which is why our channel branding is different than the campaign branding. So eventually, someday, probably not 1 year from now, but maybe 2 years from now, I will get to play a game, and that'll be fun.
Oh, exciting.
It will make my life easier. It is not a burden to do either of these things, but it definitely takes time to both run and edit. So it will take less time if I'm only doing one of those things.
That is,
but yeah, I think
perfectly reasonable and understandable.
Yeah.
So yeah. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of our year in review and some projections of what's going to go on next year. I think we're all having fun. Hopefully, our viewership is having fun. And next episode, we will be picking the campaign back up, and we'll be in Earth season. So if you're looking forward to another fight in the Elven Forest, that is what we will be doing. So if you guys have any closing thoughts, go for them, and then we'll close this one out.
I don't. It was interesting to review. I meant that initially I was thinking, wow, we don't get to go tackle the elves tonight, but it was good to have a little review and retrospective, and that's pretty much it. I think I said everything else I had to say earlier.
Nice.
I agree. Since I'm the most likely to sell out of the three of us, smash, like, subscribe, share, follow, tell your friends, because we're fun and it's enjoyable. For no other reason.
All right. Well, with that, I think we are good to go. So we will catch you all on the next one.